Today I would actually like to introduce our first speaker, who is actually my Executive Director, Mr. Mark West. Mark is the Executive Director of Prevention Strategy Branch in Queensland Health, and he'll be talking to us today about Queensland Health's policy and investment directions to reduce skin cancer rates, and of course, the reason that we're all here today, the importance of partnerships. Mark has an absolute wealth of experience in public health. He has been an instrumental leader in tobacco reform and reducing smoking rates across Queensland for many, many years. His other responsibilities within our branch include chronic disease prevention, as well as the smoking cessation work, and of course our very important work in skin cancer prevention and the work that is done to produce all of the data that is reported through the Chief Health Officer report every 2 years. So I might hand over to you now, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jodie, and I'd like to echo Rachel's comments about the great work that Jodie does within my team and more broadly with the collaboration for skin cancer prevention in Queensland. So first and foremost, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands upon which we are meeting today and pay my respects to elders past and present. I don't have any slides. I've just got a few notes, which I will use if that's okay, just to make sure I get my main messages across this morning. So a very warm welcome to everybody for today's forum. My branch is responsible for improving the uptake and implementation of sun-safe policies and reducing skin cancer rates in Queensland. Just a small issue to deal with, and lots of hard work in this area. While community awareness of the causal relationships between UV exposure, sunburn, and the development of skin cancer is high in Queensland, many people still are influenced by the long-standing social norm that having a tan is good for you. So I'll just add a little bit here. In my experience, it used to be that smoking was the norm, and what we did, that everyone smoked, and that's the way it was. It took 20 years to try and address those smoke-free norms and change. And I see very large parallels with sun safety and the work we have to keep doing in sun safety to shift the norms of more broadly the Queensland community. Our education and awareness campaigns are challenging these norms, and we're doing a lot of work. However, too many people are still attempting to get a tan or getting sunburned on a regular basis. We know that too few Queenslanders are using the recommended sun protection behaviours each day when enjoying our wonderful climate and outdoor lifestyle. We know that sunburn frequency, especially during childhood, increases melanoma risk over a person's lifetime. Strong partnerships can amplify the impact of our work. Extremely important to have partners. Partnering with the Department of Education ensures that strong sun safety policies and approaches are used in schools and reinforced by parents' efforts to support children establishing long life sun-safe habits. Collaboration with workplace health and safety in Queensland ensures a strong regulatory environment minimising unsafe UV exposure for outdoor workers. I'm very pleased to be able to say that in last year's budget, the Queensland government committed $8.4 million over 4 years to deliver skin cancer prevention initiatives. Most of this funding is delivering primary prevention initiatives, including statewide public awareness campaigns. Other components of the funding commitment will deliver early detection and outreach services in areas of highest need, along with localised health promotion activity. Earlier, I mentioned the importance of working in partnership to maximise the impact of our collaborative efforts to reduce skin cancer rates in Queensland. We are fortunate to have an incredible expertise in collaboration across government and non-government bodies through the Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland, the collaboration hosting this forum today. Queensland Health values being a member of this collaboration. I would particularly like to acknowledge the leadership of our current skin cancer prevention co-chairs, Professor Monica Janda and Professor Rachel Neal, who have led the collaborative over the last 2 years. Thank you, Monica and Rachel, along with your organising committee, for facilitating this forum and for providing opportunity to explore new partnerships with a diverse range of industry professionals and representative organisations joining us here today. As professionals who see a lot of skin in your daily work and often have long-standing and trusted relationships with your clients, you can provide influential advice that encourages daily use of sun protection behaviours. You can also highlight the importance of getting to know your own skin and checking it regularly for new changes changes to existing moles or spots. You can also encourage clients to have new or changes to existing spots or moles checked by a GP. We know that people often need to hear health messages several times from different sources to influence them taking action. The advice you provide might just be what influences someone to make using sun protection part of their daily routine, or have that spot or mole has changed assessed by their doctor. So thank you for participating in this important forum today. We look forward to partnering with your sectors and hearing how we can support your professionals to have the important conversation with their clients. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Does anyone have any questions for Mark at all before we let him run away? David.
Mark, do you think there'll be further funding future governments for skin cancer prevention and protection?
If we advocate hard, and if we had our way, there would be. So we need political will. So the last injection of money came from the Minister's Office as a part of the annual budget build. So that's where we need to keep the pressure on.
I guess it's on us to show progress and outcomes.
Exactly right. So the initiative that we're funding at the moment has a very strong evaluation component, because we want to show that we can make a difference. And we are making a difference in what we're investing in, especially the campaign work. Yeah. Rachel.
There's a lot of work going on in awareness and also with some of the early detection activities, but I just wondered if there's more investment in the built environment that's happening as well, like just providing more shade, but also potentially sunscreen dispensers at various different locations, etc. Is there a sense of investing in that as well?
We're investing efforts with other departments, and Jody in particular does lots of work around shade creation, and these amazing tools that can predict tree shade as it grows for pathways and things like that. So we've got partnerships with Arab and others. Is that right, Jody?
And the Queensland local government authorities, and a very strong partnership with the Office of the Queensland Government Architect, who are very influential across government in, introducing, better standards around shade creation and provision.
Yeah, we're a policy unit, and we're very aware of the important policy levers you can pull for shade. Yeah. Yep.
Mark, you know that we have the Olympics in 2032. Do you think that this is an opportunity to show the world sun-safe Olympics for the international people who are coming from all over the world? Some are coming from countries where they're not used to our sun, even in the Brisbane, Queensland winter. Do you think that this is an opportunity to convince government and the politics to show the world that we are leading the world in sun safety?
Yeah.
Also for our people for the various sport codes.
Absolutely. So we're doing some early work around a sun-safe Olympics. There's lots of things happening around the Olympics, and it's early days in the planning, but we need to be involved from the start. And Jody's been doing that work as well. We're looking at a multi-strategy approach around what a sun-safe Olympics could look like, around UV what do you call,
Uniform?
uniforms. So from uniforms to shade, there's not a lot of shade. It doesn't look like there's a lot of shade in some of those pictures you see of the big stadiums they're building. So we've got a lot of work to do in that area, but a sun-safe Olympics sounds fantastic. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about how, I know we touched on the subject last year about is that incidental burning, so people going out expecting to be outside for 5 or 10 minutes, but then ending up being outside for a lot longer, and that's probably where a lot of the sunburn and things are coming from. Is there a way that we can, or do you know, is there something we can do about actually raising that awareness about that, not that unintentional burning, and getting people to develop those sun-safe behaviours every day to avoid that happening? Is there any sort of awareness campaigns being run on that way, or is there a way we can collaborate on those?
You're right.
Yeah.
Jody's going to help me by answering that.
Absolutely. That is certainly messaging that is being built into the campaign messaging. Janine, obviously, tricky to communicate everything in a single campaign, but we're trying to incrementally build those messages throughout the campaign. I think we might have to move on to our next speaker. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. Okay, next I would like to introduce Mr. Jan Gall. Jan is from the Hair and Beauty Australia Industry Association, and Jan has very kindly agreed to talk with us today about how hairdressers and beauticians can help clients with skin cancer prevention and early detection. Jan is, I mentioned, the CEO of the Hair and Beauty Australia Industry Association, and prior to this, Jan has worked with a lot of registered training organisations and education providers. So
Thank you.
I will leave it to you. Thanks, Jan.
I would admit that was always in a finance capacity as a CPA accountant. So the first joke that was made was when I joined Hair and Beauty, I neither had much hair or much beauty, so I grew a beard. But in this audience, that was for skin protection. So, but Hair and Beauty Australia is the industry peak body at Fair Work. So we represent what is a large, diverse spas, barbers, hairdressers, beauticians, beauty therapists as an employer organization. And a lot of our work is original from Fair Work. So we are the ones who work with the apprenticeships. We work with the education packages for specifically the Certificate 3, Certificate 4, for both hair, beauty therapy, as well as barbering. We've been around for almost 100 years. We originally were the Professional Hair Association, which was when back in the old days, we'd have to have a license. So we represented all of the original hairdressers in the 1920s and on through. But what we really are is a large part of the community, and there are not many people that we don't touch in some way. And I think that's one part that we do really, there's an implicit opportunity for hairdressers, barbers, beauty therapists to really touch their clients, both physically in an appropriate manner, to really manipulate in places that are hard to see. But also on a regular basis. And I think we've all seen the stories of the hairdresser, the beautician who has seen something and what we say said something. And when I reached out to our membership, while I had missed it originally, there wasn't one member of our organization who hadn't had a personal experience of just mentioning something to a client that you should go check it out. And a lot of the time they would just come back and say, oh, thank you very much. It was nothing. But there was those occasions when they would come back a week later with a scar or a patch where they said, oh, thank you so much. It was serious. It was maybe a possible BCC. And if you hadn't have mentioned something, that early detection really meant something. And when we were contacted, it was one of those no-brainer ideas that if you can get in early, I think, early detection is one of the best forms of prevention. So we thought this was one of those things that you really should, we as an organization and an industry should be really pushing as the conduit for a lot of these 15,000 plus barbers, spas, and everything. So we jumped on it. What we really offer is regular client contact. So this is not like going to the doctor. I'm not sure how often you go, but on average, people go 5 to 6 times to their hairdresser. If you're a barber, you may go once a month. So it's just lots of contact. If you've got a certificate 3, while you're not a skin expert, especially the beauty therapy, there is quite a lot of work done on skin. So there's just a general base understanding of skin, how it kind of basic works. And not to be shallow, but a lot of the beauty is cover up, put sunscreen on, because that moisture that's lost and all of the damage that's done by the sun is very important to skin prevention, which also plays into what we are talking here. It was mentioned specifically those hard to reach spots behind the ears, on the backs, on the scalps. These are things that just inherently are where beauty therapy and hairdressers are that's where they work. By standing behind, they can see just naturally these things that you as a person, unless you have mirrors in your house in different ways, it's just really hard to see. And because they're really part of the society, there's a lot of trust. We always do joke about the Sweeney Todds of the world, but most of the time we really have a great relationship with our beauty therapists, our hairdressers. So if they say things, people do listen. I think the one thing that we really, really, really want to emphasize is we are not about diagnosing. And I think that was one of the very first lessons we learned, is that unless you go to pathology, and you have forgotten more than I know, that you cannot tell what something is from just looking. So what we really, really push is we are not a diagnostic tool. We are there to offer eyes, fingers, and more importantly, a mouth to try and communicate these messages. But we really did want to just focus on, this is not diagnosis. This is really about messaging and getting that message out. But I think what really helps by that is that liberates you, because what we really, when we were kind of putting together these things, we didn't want perfect to get in the way of good, because we were never going to diagnose. We weren't going to look for the difference between skin cancer versus melanoma. These things didn't really matter to the hairdresser or beautician, beauty therapist, right? It was really about looking for what they could do to prompt people, if they saw something, to say something. So we thought that was actually a really, really important positive of when it came to getting people to do something, taking that pressure off them, that they could get it wrong. Because we were never diagnosing, we were only just trying to support the general health of people. So as we said, multiple visits, lots of visual inspections. If it's beauty therapy, it's much more intense, a little bit, especially on the backs, if it's massage. So there's a lot of opportunities to really have a look, especially with the scalp, getting your fingers. I'm sure if you've got your hair, they always run your hands through your hair. And one of those little signs, when I had one, where the comb just started catching on something in the hair, and all of a sudden the hairdresser said, "Oh, there's something here." By the 3rd visit, it had nicked it to a point when I should go get this checked out. It was nothing, but it's those little signs that really nudge people to start thinking about something. There's that implicit permission to view and touch a client, which really helps, that it isn't odd for them to come and start rubbing your head. And if my wife is in the salon for about 5 hours, there is a long period to actually chat. So you may not be talking about skin prevention for 5 hours, but it is something that you can really cover off in the 5 minutes over the course of your treatment or your hairdress. And there is that inherent trust. You know your hairdresser, your beauty therapist, you're in a very vulnerable position a lot of time. And what we did when we spoke to a lot of our members, when a member would say, "Oh, I spoke to one of my clients about something, and it turned out it happened to be a lesion that was suspicious," it was never the first time they'd heard that message. It was always the 2nd or 3rd time that someone had mentioned, "Oh, you should get that checked out. You should get that checked out." And what we found is, because repetition is always a great way of learning, but because they knew their hairdresser, they knew that they'd seen their head over time, and typically had a great friendship relationship, their messaging was the one that went, maybe I should go see a professional. And I think that's what we really were aiming for. Anything we did was the call to action, a very simple, you should go see a medical professional. And we didn't really mind who you saw, as we would always push you to either go see at the very first a GP or a specialist, but we really want you to do something. Because the inaction, I think, is the worst sin of this all. By doing something, even if it's nothing, you've at least taken that off the table. So we were very much about seeing something, saying something. So spot the spot, it's very simple, but it is see something, say something. Raising awareness of possible dangerous lesions, just bringing this message out to the industry, and just very basic general skin safety, which I know this group is very strong and would be promoting. We have a large reach. We have hairdressers, barbers, beauty therapists. So there's just a lot of touch points. And we think the position that we can play as an industry, like the net, that you're going to miss a lot of things probabilistically, but the more times you have an attempt to see it, the bigger the net is, the more chances of catching something if they just say something and action is taken. When it comes to awareness, was always the key messaging. We were not diagnosing. For our industry, really wanted to focus on confidence in communication. It's really important in that commercial setting to be confident in the way you communicate some of these messages, because it can be embarrassing, it can be scary for people. So we really wanted to train a junior hairstylist to say in a positive way, like, you may have something you just want to check it out, or you should take a photo, take it to a medical professional, so that it didn't alarm people. Because again, they're not diagnosing, they're just sending a message of you should do something. And so a lot of our work was working with hairdressers to how to deliver these messages in a very simple way for the youth, where sometimes they say that communication is one of the weaker points in the retail, in the service industry, that it's hard to talk to staff. So we spent a lot of time just giving them that communication skills. And a simple message: if you see something, say something. So this came about, we did a TAFE New South Wales micro-credential, which is just a 45-minute self-guided online course that is simply to see what a spot is, and then have a very confident communication with your client on what they should do with it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I think we do a game where they have 6 lesions, and I think it changes, but all six are not anything worrisome in one case, all 6 are worrisome in one case. They look identical. So I think we really learned very early, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter between melanoma and skin cancer. This message is, you should just go get it checked out, regardless, and let the doctors and the medical professionals do the diagnosis. So as we said, no diagnosis. For us, we say there's very low risk of harm. If I get it wrong, well, heck, you went and saw a medical professional. You may have wasted a bit of time, but that's what we say, an asymmetric great bet. Because if I get it right and you early prevention, then we may have saved a life, and that's kind of those stories that we love to hear. And it's good for the industry, and it's good for society. For us, we are part of society, and we really want to make that, and usually a really strong part of the community. And we think that those are the roles that we can play, not as a medical service, but as just helping others do their job that little bit easier. Thank you very much.
That was, I think, a very insightful presentation, and lots of ways that industry can be involved in this space. Couple of questions, and then we'll need to move on. Jo, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation. Thank you for that. I'm a hairdresser by trade, believe that. But quite a few years being a hairdresser by trade. But when you look at that, you were putting online there to try and raise the profile of this awareness, what was the uptake on that? And do you actually get your apprentices to participate in that course during their training?
So I was checking the numbers. We've had 500 people take the course, and it is free and part of, I want to be careful, it is part of the New South Wales curriculum, but it is not forced to be, it's not officially part of the Certificate 3 package, but all apprentices and beauty therapists and hairdressers taking a Cert 3 get the course for free. And it's part of, so it's a micro credential, So they're all taking it, but it's not part of the official education cert 3 package as of yet.
That's something. For the apprentice that's floating about together, where it comes from,
Oh.
and service and everything like that.
Oh, we would love to do that. As having sat with I won't bore anyone with the education package for hair and beauty, but that is something that they're going to do. They're doing at TAFE in New South Wales, and we'd look to expand as it's part. You should take the New South Wales TAFE is pushing them to take it, but it's not an official part of the package because that's a whole nother. Well, I know others have been doing it, and I know I've spoken to Lynette on what they're doing. It was only a few months ago, so I think we're just the positive side of New South Wales TAFE and TAFE in general is they are large, and so that's why we were happy to work with them.
Rachel, and then we might have one more, and otherwise we do have quite a long morning tea break, so feel free to have a chat to Jan then. So Rachel, yes, thank you.
Lovely talk and very nice slides.
Yeah.
It's wonderful the focus on early detection, but I just wondered if you could comment on the scope for increasing the hairdresser and beauty therapist skills in talking about primary prevention. So being able to answer those sort of concerns about, is my sunscreen toxic? What about vitamin D? What are the current guidelines in terms of, sunscreen on every day with UV index is forecast to be 3 or more? What is the opportunity for upskilling them on the primary prevention as well as secondary prevention?
So simplistically, I think absolutely we see this as our industry position to try and push these messages through in the beauty therapist, and it's a little bit more natural. They spend more time talking about these things as part of their day-to-day therapies and services. In the hair, it would be that slight tangent for them, but it's not something that you wouldn't be putting part of the messaging in the course. I know a few of you took the course and he said it's good, but there's lots of room for improvement. And we said, well, the hardest part is getting the first one done. It's always a little easier to edit it. So I think there's absolutely something we would.
If there's some of those controversial issues that we've heard about this morning, that giving your beauty therapist the confidence to actually address those might really help us with our primary prevention messaging, because you do have so much trust in the community as a client. So it'd be great to look at what we could do around that as well.
Beauty just naturally, it dovetails a little bit tighter than the hair.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm talking more about the beauty side of things than the hair side of things.
Thank you, Rachel. Monica, have you got Sue?
Hi, my name's Lisa. Jan, thank you for that presentation. Very good. I deal with a lot of education in Queensland, and I can tell you now that the Cert 3s don't get any education in that area that would be considered worthwhile, shall we say, which is a shame, which is absolutely a shame. Now, those beauty therapists that go on to do a diploma, of which I was at one of the colleges that is considered very good. When I was going through my education with them just the other week, and they're about to graduate, I asked them what their understanding of SPF was. No idea. Absolutely no idea. And so some said, oh, isn't it, if it's got an SPF of 10, I've got 10 minutes protection and I just reapply it and it'll be great. So this whole area needs to be readdressed, rewritten, and really put into the curriculum, because it's surmised that it will be covered, but it's actually not covered to an extent that is worthwhile. And often the reliance is upon third and fourth parties like myself going into colleges, doing the education for the educators.
Yeah.
And that's great, but it's not great. It should be far more formalized.
With the new industry joint JSCs that have just been formed, this is the industry hat, there'll be, in probably not for the next 12 months, but the review of both the Certificate 3 of hairdressing and the Certificate 3 in beauty therapy, which is unfortunately the formality of changing these education packages. So that is something that would be addressed.
both areas to work together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it was positive to hear a lot of the similar messages are behind the ear. So it does, there is a place for the industry.
Thank you,
here all
Jan.
day.
And please, I know there were some other questions from Jan, but we do need to keep moving. So
No.
please chat to him at morning tea time. Next, could I please, thank you very much, Jan. Could I please invite Hayley Griffith to speak with us next? Hayley is the CEO of Skin Deep Learning and has been an incredible support and advisor to us here in Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland over the last 12, 18 months or so around opportunities to embed skin cancer prevention and early detection messaging into curriculum for beauty and hairdressing practitioners. So Skin Deep Learning is actually the market leader in the provision of fully compliant educational resources for the beauty, therapy and hairdressing courses in the vet sector. So Hayley brings a very strong background in training, instructional design, as well as in adult education, and has been producing curriculum resources for 8 years or so for Skin Deep Learning. And you might spot this one out the front. This is work that Hayley has very kindly coordinated the development of in collaboration with us in Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland. So do have a look at it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you, Jodie. So my presentation is going to overlap a little bit with Jan's, and it might answer some of the questions that you just had in regards to the curriculum to do with hairdressing and beauty therapy courses, because I'm going to talk about the gaps that exist in the current curriculum and some things we might be able to do to try and fill these gaps. So yeah, so I'm from a company called Skin Deep Learning. I'll just give you a brief overview of us as a company, just so you understand why I'm presenting today. So we create learning and assessment resources for registered training organisations or RTOs. So we create learning and assessment resources. If you don't know what an RTO is, they're TAFEs and private RTOs that teach vocational courses. So our resources include resources for beauty therapy and hairdressing courses, which is why I'm presenting today. And our resources have been designed to be engaging to students. So our hard copy looks like a magazine. It's completely compliant to the training package and students read them from cover to cover. Most importantly for RTOs, our resources are designed to be completely compliant with the Commonwealth curriculum. So they include everything that's required for knowledge and the practical components of the Commonwealth curriculum. The resources come in online format and hard copy format, and they're currently used to educate approximately 8,000 beauty therapy and hairdressing students a year, with this number increasing every year. So what role can we play in skin cancer prevention? Well, we have a fair reach into the beauty therapy and hairdressing education sector. We have thousands of beauty therapy students and hundreds of trainers using our resources every year. So there's an opportunity here for us to include information so that when students go out into the industry, they've been educated on how to advise clients on skin cancer prevention strategies. Because there's not a lot of information in the current curriculum about skin cancer prevention, we have a bit of flexibility to include information into our resources. So we can include things in there that go into the practical components of the course as well, because we don't just do theory. Our resources go, because they cover the whole training package, they go right into the treatment and services that the students do. So we have an opportunity here to put information in to educate students about the types of things they can say to clients. So what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and why to say it. So this can hopefully educate students so when they go out into industry, they become powerful advocates for skin cancer prevention. So who sets the training packages? Well, the vocational education sector in Australia is very heavily regulated and the training packages are very structured. So when I mention a training package, it's just a curriculum that's used to teach a course. Who creates the training packages, it's all been changed in the last 12 months or so, and it's now the responsibility of Jobs and Skills Councils. Skills Equipped is a Jobs and Skills Council that's now responsible for the personal services training packages. They're still in a developmental phase. We're trying to get some information out of them about updates at the moment, but it's hard to get any information at the moment, but this will change in the future. When training packages do go through an update, they go out into a consultation phase where they go out to industry and stakeholders for feedback. Skin deep learning always plays a part in this. However, there's an opportunity here for Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland to be part of this consultation process as well when it happens. So once the training package is approved, it's used by RTOs to teach courses, and this is when lots of RTOs will use skin deep learning resources. When courses are taught in RTOs, they're heavily regulated by a national body called ASQA. So ASQA comes in and audits RTOs on their training and assessment strategies, and this is extremely scary for RTOs. So RTOs are very focused around teaching what's in the training package, and they won't really go outside of that. Because there's not much information in the current curriculum about skin cancer prevention, it could be challenging to get RTOs to train this as part of the curriculum because it's not required curriculum. Training packages are updated in 5-year cycles generally. The beauty therapy one was released in 21, so it's not due for an update until 26. However, the hairdressing training package is due for an update. My understanding was it was due to be updated last year, so I'm assuming it's going to be next year. So there's an opportunity here for Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland to have some input into this update and get information about skin cancer put into the training packages. So I'll just go through what's in the current curriculum about skin cancer prevention, which isn't a lot. So for beauty students, that's an example of a training package there, by the way, on the side there. For beauty students, there is information on sunscreen use, so it does go into sun protection factor and things like that. It's very, there's not a lot of information about it. And sunscreen use relates mostly to anti-aging. It doesn't really relate in a training package to skin cancer prevention. However, it probably doesn't matter as long as the message for sunscreen use is getting out there and to educate their clients on sunscreen use. The curriculum does require the student to identify contraindications to treatments and advise clients to seek medical attention where required. So if students spot suspicious lesions, there is information to notify the client to go see a doctor so the doctor can give approval for them to do the treatment or service. The curriculum does not have, other than sunscreen, any other information about any other sun protection strategies. And there's no requirement for students to advise clients or educate clients about sun protection strategies. Currently, the required knowledge for sunscreen and the sun's effect on the skin sits in 2 units. So these are diploma level units. So anyone studying a Cert 3 or a Cert 2 doesn't get any information on this. So it would be good to try and get this information. It could really go in every unit that is treatment or service oriented, because we find that repeating important information does help students with retention of knowledge. Okay, so hairdressing, there's nothing. There's nothing in the hairdressing training package, nothing about sunscreen use or any other skin prevention strategies. There is a requirement, however, for hairdressing students to be able to identify contraindications to treatments and advise clients to seek medical attention where required. So why should hairdressing and beauty therapy students know more about skin cancer prevention? Well, as we already know, they have regular contact with their clients and their clients' skin and scalp. They have long-standing and trusted relationships with clients, and clients really value their advice. And as we know, lots of people will see their beauty therapists and hairdressers more than their GPs. So if the focus of this forum is to decrease skin cancer by 25% by 2050, then obviously educating the beauty therapy and hairdressing sector is going to be very helpful in achieving this goal, and that's why we're here today. So there's an opportunity here to train beauty therapists and hairdressers to educate their clients on skin cancer prevention and possibly to spot early signs. However, I really think it needs to start with the curriculum, because we do need therapists and hairdressers to stay within their scope of practice. We certainly don't want them out in industry attempting to diagnose or alarming clients in any way. So that's why starting with the curriculum is a good way to educate on what to say to clients and perhaps what not to say to clients. So when I was doing my research for this presentation, I came across so many articles online about hairdressers or beauty therapists that had spotted unusual lesions on their client's skin. They advised their client to go get it checked, and it ended up being skin cancer. So because there's no formal education on this at the moment, these people are obviously doing this just based on their own intuition. So imagine if there was education on this and it was included in the curriculum, the impact that could be made. So we could have, educated beauty therapists and hairdressers when they go out into industry, knowing what to say to clients and knowing what to educate clients on for preventative strategies as well. So how can skin deep learning help? As Jodie said, we've created a pamphlet in collaboration with Skin Cancer Prevention Queensland. The pamphlet's been designed to be specifically tailored to hairdressing and beauty therapy students, so they understand why they're getting it and it's engaging for them to read, because it's not compulsory reading. So this is being distributed to all of our customers at the moment, so it'll go out to thousands of students and hundreds of trainers. And we've also received interest from other RTOs who don't use skin deep learning resources to receive the pamphlet. So hopefully we can get it out to lots and lots of students and trainers. Lots of our trainers have expressed such enthusiastic support for being part of this initiative. So I really think that you'll find the initiative is going to be very well regarded and accepted in the industry. The pamphlet's in hard copy and it's also available online, and there's some here today. I brought some with me. So I'll just quickly go through the pamphlet just very briefly. So there's a section here that explains to students why they're receiving a pamphlet on skin cancer prevention, just to contextualize it to them being students and the beauty therapy and hairdressing industry. These sections just talk very briefly on skin cancer, its impacts and causes, and the different types of skin cancer. There's a section on preventative strategies. And again, this section really breaks it down to be relevant to beauty therapists and hairdressers and the role that they can play. And it gives examples of things they can say to clients. And there's a little quiz at the end of it that they can take to test their knowledge. So in the future, we're thinking of adding to the free online resources. We were thinking maybe some videos could be useful to sort of explain to students some role plays, what to say to clients and perhaps what not to say to clients. In the fullness of time, we could perhaps create a free module where students and trainers could receive a certificate of completion at the end of it. And students could be encouraged to do this because it's not compulsory curriculum through competitions. But most importantly, I think lobbying skills equipped to get this information into the training package. And the hairdressing training package is the one that's probably the best one to start with because it's due for an update. And the types of things that should be in there is the role of the hairdresser and beauty therapist to educate clients on skin cancer prevention strategies. what to do if they spot unusual lesions, and what to say to clients, getting the information into every unit and getting the information into the hairdressing courses. And I really feel that by getting this into the curriculum is going to then create generations of hairdressers and beauty therapists that when they're working in industry can become advocates for skin cancer prevention and hopefully educate clients on proactive strategies and may perhaps save lives. So thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you, Hayley. Certainly given us lots of inspiration as to how we can influence and be part of the solution in this sector. I think one question for Hayley, if there is, just because we are running a little bit behind time, but yes. Any questions? Janine, thank you.
Do hairdressers and the beauty therapists, do they go back and is there any sort of retraining or maintaining a training level once you've graduated with your certificate, like there is in some other industries? I just thought that might be an opportunity to
Not
include them later.
compulsory training.
Okay.
You know, they may decide to go and update their skills and things like that, but yeah, there's no compulsory sort of training.
How would we reach those qualified practitioners then, Hayley? Are there other channels?
Maybe through.
Excellent. All right. Okay, thank you. Well, anyway, I'm sure Hayley would be very pleased to chat with anyone at morning tea. Next, I would like to thank you, Hayley. Thank you. Next, we have Sharon Chimpat from Cancer Council Queensland here to talk with us and share some very helpful information about the resources, skin cancer prevention resources and services for cancer more broadly that Cancer Council does provide. Sharon is the Senior Manager for Prevention and Early Detection at the Cancer Council. She's a great partner of ours, and we enjoy working very closely with Cancer Council. Sharon has a Bachelor of Behavioural Science and is responsible for the development and delivery of information and awareness programs related to reducing cancer risk and to support early detection of cancer. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Jodie. Good morning, everyone. I know that I'm the last person before morning tea, so you're probably all just hanging out to get out and have some morning tea, but it's not a long presentation. So I did want to talk about some of our prevention resources, but also about our support services, because as we know, 1 in 2 Queenslanders will be diagnosed with cancer by the time they're 85. So the chances are, working in the health and beauty industry, you will be treating a client at some stage in your career. So it is useful for you to know about what support services we have in case you're having that conversation with your clients and they mention that they're, having some trouble with a diagnosis, and you can let them know about some of our support services. So I know this has been covered, but Queensland unfortunately has the highest skin cancer rate in Australia, and we are known as the skin cancer capital of the world. So that's definitely something that we want to start changing. And a lot of this has been covered, but it's good to know that each year in Queensland, there are approximately 350,000 non-melanoma skin cancers diagnosed. We've all heard about, and this has been covered, about slip, slop, slap. We generally know about slip, slop, slap. A lot of people don't know about the other two, which is seeking shade and sliding on the wraparound sunglasses. So that was added a few years ago just to make sure that our sun protective behaviours cover everything that they need to. So important to protect your skin when UV is 3 or above, which in Queensland is every day of the year. Even in winter, even on those cool and shady days. We have some information about cancer. So this relates to not just prevention of cancer, but also support. So we have a number of resources for people who have been diagnosed with skin cancer or melanoma that helps them to understand what it actually means for them. So those resources can be, you can call 13 11 20 to get a copy, or we have a download or an order form for those resources. Spot the difference fact sheet's probably one of the most common ones that we have, because it does look at some of the stuff that was covered earlier, just around what are the different things you need to notice. And it's about that spotting any new or changing spot, mole or freckle, and any sore that doesn't heal over 4 to 6 weeks, go and see your GP. So that's the important thing there. We also have a number of other resources, one about correct sunscreen application, which is very useful because people obviously generally do not apply enough sunscreen. So that's a very useful resource around how much sunscreen you should apply to your skin. And then a few resources about sun protection in young children, skin cancer, and protecting your skin. So useful resources to know about. As I mentioned, we do offer a number of support services at Cancer Council Queensland. So we have a 13 11 20 information and support line, and that support line can refer you to other support services that we have at Cancer Council Queensland, such as our counselling service, which is a service that provides emotional counsel support to people affected by cancer. So it doesn't have to just be the person diagnosed. It's also family and friends who are affected by a cancer diagnosis. We have accommodation lodges, 5 different lodges across the state where people can stay if they're travelling for treatment. We have a transport service which takes people, to their treatment, from their home to their treatment, and then to from airports to their accommodation or treatment facility. We have legal, financial and workplace services, peer support, so connecting people with someone else with a similar diagnosis. And I thought this one would actually be relevant to this group, is that we have a wig and turban service. So at that point where one of your clients has lost their hair and are feeling quite vulnerable about that, we do have a free wig and turban service. So people can get a wig, men and women can get a wig from us at the time when they are feeling quite vulnerable with the loss of their hair. So it's good to know that that's available. And that's available right across Queensland. So we have the ability to do virtual wig fittings as well, or virtual wig appointments, I should say. So we can post wigs right across Queensland, which I think is an excellent service. We actually had a young lady who was undergoing cancer treatment, had lost her hair as a result of her treatment, was about to get married, and she came to us, and we were able to provide her with a beautiful blonde wig, which her hairdresser was able to style for her, and she looked absolutely stunning on her wedding day. So it's nice to know that there is that support for people. And I have a video which may or may not work. Let's see how we go. It's just about our wig service, but it's actually a really nice video. Is that going to work?
The Cancer Council's wig service is important because cancer already takes so much away from you.
Cancer Council's wig service is a really important free service. We provide wigs to men and women affected by cancer-related hair loss. The way that it works is we have about 100 wigs in stock. It's the nurses who then take the appointment. So not only are they coming in for a wig, but they're coming in to talk about things other than their hair loss.
I lost my hair when I was just 13, and that was a very tough time for me because I was just sorting out who I am with identity, and so it was very hard, a very hard time. I just kept thinking, oh, it'll grow back. But when the doctors said that it's never going to grow back, I was absolutely devastated. And it wasn't until I tried on my first wig that I thought it's okay. It's not going to grow back, but I've got these beautiful wigs and these wonderful services, and there's people out there who will support me and find the right wig for me, and I'll feel beautiful. When I first walked in with Molly, I felt very safe in there, and that I could talk about my hair loss and what kind of hairstyles I like. Molly is very friendly and she was very approachable, and I felt very comfortable having conversations with her.
People can feel quite anxious about losing their hair. So we're there to make sure that they find something that they're looking for that really suits their personality. And you can see when they walk out of Cancer Council that they've got a huge smile on their face and that boost in confidence. That's probably the best part about my job.
When I'm wearing my wig, I feel just like everyone else, and I can be who I am, and I'm not a label. I don't have cancer.
Every minute, every hour, every day, Cancer Council are helping people find confidence through our wig service.
And the other thing I just wanted to mention, I know we're here talking about skin cancer prevention in particular, but Cancer Council, that's not me, I don't think. Cancer Council have released this cancer risk calculator, which actually looks at the modifiable behaviours that you can change to reduce your cancer risk of the modifiable behaviours to reduce your cancer risk. So this looks at things like smoking, your alcohol consumption, looks at sun protection, looks at your screening behaviours, nutrition and physical activity. So I would encourage you to take that cancer risk calculator. You can jump online to the Cancer Council Queensland website if you want to do it. It's quite interactive, and it's a nice educational piece for you as well, just to look at where else you can reduce cancer risk, not just skin cancer. So thank you.
Thank you.